It's a lovely sunny morning, and Peppa Pig is playing in the garden with her little brother George. George, look, there's something strange behind Grandpa Pig's old shed. I've never noticed that path before. Dinosaur path. Grr. The path was covered with the most beautiful flowers they had ever seen. Purple, pink, and golden petals seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Wow, these flowers are so pretty and sparkly. Where path go, Peppa? I don't know, George. Should we follow it and see where it leads? It looks like an adventure. So Peppa and George decided to follow the mysterious flower path. As they walked, they heard the most wonderful tinkling sounds, like tiny bells in the wind. Listen, George, the flowers are making music. How extraordinary. Magic flowers. Ding ding. The path led them to a secret garden they had never seen before. In the center stood the most magnificent tree, with leaves that changed colors like a rainbow. Oh my, look at that amazing tree. George, the leaves are red, then blue, then green. How does it do that? Rainbow tree, pretty. Suddenly, they heard a gentle voice coming from the tree. But it wasn't scary at all, it sounded kind and friendly. Welcome, little visitors, to the Garden of Wonders. Did that tree just talk to us, George? Talking tree. Hello, tree. Hello, George. Hello, Peppa. I've been waiting for curious children like you to find this special place. This garden is full of wonderful surprises. Would you like to see some magic? Yes, please. We love surprises, don't we, George? Magic. Magic. The tree waved its branches, and suddenly butterflies made of pure light began to dance around Peppa and George. They're so beautiful, and they feel warm and tickly. Butterfly friends. Giggle giggle. These are the guardian butterflies. They protect all the wonderful things in this garden and make sure everything stays happy and safe. Next, the tree showed them flowers that could sing lullabies and grass that felt as soft as clouds under their feet. This is the most wonderful place ever. Can we come back and visit again? Of course. But remember, this garden is our secret. Only kind hearts can find the path. Secret garden. Our secret. That's right, George. And because you've been such good visitors, I have a special gift for you both. The tree gave each of them a small, glowing acorn that would always remind them of their magical adventure. Thank you, tree. This is the best present ever. Glowy acorn. Thank you. Keep them safe, and they'll always bring you happy dreams. As the afternoon sun began to set, it was time for Peppa and George to return home. Come back soon, my friends. The garden will always be here for you. They followed the flower path back home, and with each step, the magical sounds grew softer, like a gentle lullaby. What an amazing adventure, George. Do you think Mummy and Daddy will believe us? Show acorn. Proof. When they reached home, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig were waiting for them. There you are. We were wondering where you'd gone. Did you have a nice time playing? We found the most wonderful secret garden. Look at our special acorns. My word, those are very special acorns indeed. They seem to be glowing. That night, Peppa and George placed their magical acorns by their beds, and they had the most wonderful dreams about their new friend, the rainbow tree, and all the magical adventures still waiting for them in the secret garden. Peppa Pig episode, The Mysterious Sounds. Duration, 3 minutes 10 seconds, 190 seconds, 25 frames, 7.6 seconds per frame. Script with frame timing. Frame 1 midnight to 0:07. Narrator. It's a lovely autumn evening at Peppa's house. The family is getting ready for bed. Frame 2, 0:08 to 0:15. Peppa. Mummy, what was that strange sound I heard earlier in the garden? Frame 3, 0:16 to 0:23. Mummy Pig. Oh, Peppa, it was probably just the wind blowing through the trees. Nothing to worry about, little one. Frame 4, 0:24 to 0:31. Daddy Pig. Yes, autumn nights can be quite noisy with all the leaves rustling about. Time for bed now. Frame 5, 0:32 to 0:39. Narrator. But as the family settles down for the night, Peppa hears the mysterious sound again from her bedroom window. Frame 6, 040 to 047. Peppa, George, did you hear that? It sounded like footsteps in our garden. Frame 7, 048 to 055. George, dinosaur? Grr. Frame 8, 056 to 103. Peppa, no George, not a dinosaur. Something else. Let's look out the window very quietly. Frame 9, 104 to 111. Narrator, Peppa and George peek through the curtains. The garden looks different in the moonlight, full of mysterious shadows. Frame 10, 112 to 119. Peppa, look George, there's something moving by the apple tree. What could it be? Frame 11, 120 to 127. Narrator, the children see a dark shape moving slowly across the garden. It seems to be searching for something. Frame 12, 128 to 135. George, Peppa, scared. Frame 13, 136 to 143. Peppa, don't worry George, we're brave. Let's wake up Mummy and Daddy to solve this mystery together. Frame 14, 144 to 151. Narrator, the children tiptoe to their parents' room. Mummy and Daddy Pig are fast asleep and snoring loudly. Frame 15, 152 to 159. Peppa, Mummy, Daddy, there's something mysterious in our garden. Frame 16, 2 to 207. Daddy Pig. What's that, Peppa? A mystery? How exciting. Frame 17, 208 to 215. Mummy Pig. Let's all go downstairs together and take a look, but we must be very quiet. Frame 18, 216 to 223. Narrator. The whole family creeps downstairs and peers out through the kitchen window into the moonlit garden. Frame 19, 224 to 231. Daddy Pig. Well, I never. Look there by the vegetable patch. Frame 20, 232 to 239. Narrator. There in the garden, they see Mrs. Rabbit with a flashlight, carefully digging around the carrot patch. Frame 21, 240 to 247. Mummy Pig. Oh my, it's Mrs. Rabbit. But what is she doing in our garden so late at night? Frame 22, 248 to 255. Narrator. Daddy Pig opens the back door and calls out softly to their neighbor. Frame 23, 256 to 303. Daddy Pig. Mrs. Rabbit? Is everything all right? We heard some mysterious sounds. Frame 24, 304 to 311. Verse. Rabbit. Oh, hello. I'm so sorry for the disturbance. I was looking for my lost house keys. I dropped them somewhere in your garden this afternoon when I was visiting. Frame 25, 312 to 319. Narrator. And so the mysterious nighttime visitor turned out to be their friendly neighbor Mrs. Rabbit, simply looking for her lost keys. The mystery was solved, and everyone could sleep peacefully. The end. Peppa. What a funny mystery. Good night, everyone. All good night. Narrator. It was a bright, sunny morning in Peppa Pig's world. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, and Daddy Pig were all excited for a special family picnic. They packed their basket with delicious treats and set off for a new, unexplored part of the forest, a place Daddy Pig had heard whispers about. The forest grew denser as they ventured deeper. The trees were taller, and the shadows seemed to dance in peculiar ways. Peppa, usually so boisterous, found herself speaking in hushed tones. George clutched his dinosaur toy a little tighter. They found a clearing, bathed in an eerie, green light filtering through the leaves. A single, ancient-looking tree stood in the center, its branches twisted into strange, almost watchful shapes. Mummy Pig shivered, despite the warmth of the day. Peppa, whispering, Daddy, this place feels funny. Daddy Pig chuckles nervously. Nonsense, Peppa. It's just a bit atmospheric, perfect for a picnic. Narrator. As they laid out their blanket, a faint, almost imperceptible humming sound began to emanate from the ancient tree. It was a low, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate through the very ground beneath them. George pointed, his eyes wide. "George," muttering, Dino scared. "Mummy Pig," trying to sound cheerful. "Oh, George, it's just the wind in the leaves, dear. Let's eat." Narrator. They began to eat, but the food tasted bland, and the usual joy of a picnic was absent. The humming grew slightly louder, and the shadows around the clearing seemed to deepen, even in the sunlight. Peppa, looking around nervously, "Did you hear that, Mummy?" Sounded like a whisper. Mummy Pig, frowning, "I didn't hear anything, Peppa. Perhaps you're just tired." Narrator. Suddenly, the ancient tree's twisted branches seemed to move, not with the wind, but with a slow, deliberate creak. A single, large, unblinking eye seemed to open on its trunk, glowing with a faint, unsettling light. Daddy Pig, stammering, "WL, I think we've had enough picnic for one day. Time to go home." Narrator. The family scrambled to pack their things, their movements hurried and clumsy. The eye on the tree seemed to follow them, its gaze unwavering. The humming intensified, now a low, guttural growl. Peppa, panicked, "Run, Daddy, run." Narrator. They ran through the forest, the strange green light and the ominous humming pursuing them. The familiar path seemed to twist and turn, leading them deeper into the unknown. The trees around them began to resemble distorted faces, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. George let out a small whimper, burying his face in Mummy Pig's side. Daddy Pig, gasping for breath, I don't remember this part of the forest." Narrator. They stumbled upon a small, murky pond. The water was still, reflecting the distorted trees like a dark mirror. From its depths, faint, glowing eyes seemed to peer out. Mummy Pig, voice trembling, "We need to find our way out. This isn't right." Narrator. A chilling, high-pitched giggle echoed through the trees, seemingly coming from all directions at once. It was a sound that was both childlike and deeply unsettling. Peppa, tears in her eyes, "I want to go home. I don't like this game." Narrator. They ran faster, the giggling growing louder, closer. The ground beneath their feet felt soft and spongy, as if they were running on something alive. Daddy Pig, determined, "We're almost there, just a little further." Narrator. Suddenly, a quiet evening in Peppatown. Peppa and George are playing in the garden, laughing. The sun is slowly setting, painting the sky in orange and purple tones. Everything seems perfect, but a slight, barely perceptible feeling of unease hangs in the air. In the distance, a strange, low hum is heard, unnoticed by anyone but the viewer. Peppa suddenly stops and listens intently. George, engrossed in his toy, pays no attention. Peppa looks around, trying to understand the sound. Tree branches begin to sway slightly, though there is no wind. Shadows lengthen and distort, taking on bizarre shapes. George drops his favorite toy, a dinosaur. He bends down to pick it up, but the dinosaur disappears right before his eyes. George starts to whimper, and Peppa tries to comfort him, but she herself feels a growing fear. The humming sound becomes a little louder, almost inaudible, but palpable. Peppa and George search for the dinosaur. They look under bushes, behind trees, but the toy is nowhere to be found. The shadows around them become even more sinister, as if alive. Suddenly, a quiet, scratching sound, like a whisper, comes from behind a bush. Strange, dark footprints appear on the ground where there were none before. They lead deep into the forest bordering the garden. The tracks look as if something large and heavy dragged itself across the ground. Peppa and George, despite their fear, decide to follow the tracks. The forest grows darker and denser. The trees seem taller, their branches intertwined, forming eerie arches. The flowers, once vibrant, now look withered and pale. The humming sound intensifies, becoming more distinct, but its source is still unclear. Peppa and George hear whispers coming from behind the trees. It sounds like many voices speaking at once, but the words are indistinguishable. The whisper seems sinister and alluring at the same time. George holds Peppa's hand tightly. The tracks lead them to an old, abandoned house they had never seen before. The windows of the house are broken, and the doors creak in the wind. The house looks as if it has been abandoned for many years, but a faint glow emanates from within. Peppa and George cautiously enter the house. Inside, it is dimly lit. Dust covers all surfaces. The air is heavy and stale. The glow becomes brighter, emanating from deep within the house. The humming sound is now clearly audible, coming from inside the house. Strange shadows, resembling distorted figures, move along the walls of the house. They dance and writhe, as if alive. The shadows appear threatening but do not attack. Peppa and George huddle together, their hearts pounding. They enter a room with a large, old mirror in the center. The mirror is covered in dust, but it reflects not their room, but a distorted, dark semblance of Peppatown. In the reflection, the sky turns black and houses crumble. In the mirror, a distorted reflection of Peppa and George appears. Their eyes glow red, and their smiles look sinister. The reflections begin to move independently of them, reaching out with clawed hands. The humming sound reaches its peak. In the distorted reflection of the mirror, George's dinosaur appears. In the quiet, cozy world of Peppa Pig, where every day is filled with laughter and games, sometimes night falls, but not an ordinary night, but one that brings with it shadows and whispers that make even the bravest piglets hide under the covers. Tonight was just such a night. The air was heavy, and the stars seemed to twinkle with unusual anxiety. Peppa couldn't sleep. Every rustle outside the window, every creak of the old house seemed like an ominous premonition. She tried to convince herself that it was just the wind, but her little heart beat faster and faster. George, usually so calm, was also restless tonight. His beloved Dino lay on the floor, forgotten in the darkness. Suddenly, a shadow flickered outside the window. It was too tall, too thin to be just a tree. Peppa held her breath, her eyes wide with horror. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. What was it? And why did it move so silently? Fear gripped her, but instinct told her she needed to protect George. She slowly slid off the bed, every muscle in her body tensed. She wanted to wake her brother, but then a quiet, scratching sound came from behind the door. It sounded like claws scraping wood. The sound was getting closer. The doorknob slowly, almost imperceptibly, began to turn down. Peppa's heart stopped. A thin, ominous strip of red light seeped from under the door, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. It wasn't a flashlight, it was something else, something alien and frightening. Peppa, trembling with fear, hid under the bed. She pressed herself against the cold wall, trying to make herself as small as possible. The red light under the door pulsed as if alive. George seemed to feel something in his sleep. His breathing became uneven, and his little hands clenched into fists. The door creaked open. The corridor was plunged into pitch darkness, but in it burned two red eyes. They were like embers glowing in the night. The creature to whom they belonged was invisible, but its presence was palpable, heavy, oppressive. The air in the room grew colder. The red eyes slowly glided around the room, exploring every corner. Peppa, holding her breath, prayed that she wouldn't be noticed. One of the eyes stopped directly above George's bed. The creature seemed to be studying the sleeping piglet, and this was the most terrifying moment for Peppa. George slowly opened his eyes. His gaze fell upon two red lights hanging directly above him. The little piglet let out a piercing scream, filled with pure horror. His cry echoed through the room, breaking the dead silence of the night. George's scream awakened something more than fear in Peppa. It was determination. She sprang from under the bed, her little legs carrying her to her brother. The red eyes seemed to retreat, disappearing into the shadows, but their presence was still felt. Peppa hugged George tightly, trying to calm his trembling body. The door was closed, the red light was gone. An ominous silence fell over the room,